welcome to Monday morning. We're going to be talking about pivoting. With all the stuff that happened this year with the COVID, the pandemic, whichever you want to call it, that's happened all over the world, it's actually affected every one of us that runs a business. Well, first off, let's find out exactly an understanding of what a pivot is. What is a pivot anyway? Well, the simplest way I can actually describe what a pivot is as an example. Giving you an example may be able to help, because a lot of people don't really understand is what is a pivot and how does it pertain to business. Here's a good, perfect scenario. Classrooms. It used to be 100% in person. You had to go to school. You had to be physically in a classroom with an instructor, whether it be in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, university, whichever it was. Now it's transitioned to online learning. That's a good example of pivoting from classroom to online education. Now, if you're behind in how it works, with a car, you can get any program you want online, as far as I understand. And over the years, I've done both, a lot of in-class, because when I went through my education, formal education was through in-class learning. Even in university, it had to be all in class. So the thing was is that now, with the availability of online learning, which, by the way, is a very, very good, lucrative business to get into if you have an online course to sell, preferably in person, such as what I do. But what I recommend you doing, since we're talking about pivoting, I have a special bonus for you at the very end. So if you stay at the very end, you're going to find out what the bonus is. Now, during the COVID, it's very, very hard to keep any business keep it on track, to be able to make revenues, to generate any kind of interest in your product. But whenever any kind of conflict arises, like what do you do? With COVID, it spread like wildfire. Seriously, and you know it. Most businesses were put on hold. The brakes were put on hold. Launches were put on hold. First, we thought it was just going to be a temporary delay. Now it's turned into the norm. Go figure. Now it's the norm way of doing business online. So it not only affected us locally in North America, but internationally. Some retailers can't even get product on the shelves. So what I did for myself, I used my time to do as much research as possible on everything I could about the how-tos, the when-tos, to learn how small businesses or brand new businesses or businesses that are struggling to survive. It's all about the survival nowadays. And the key is when to pivot, how to pivot. If you're so used to doing things, as an example again, in a classroom, how do you pivot to everything being online learning now? It's the convenience, but it's also the scenario of this is the way new things have to happen. Now, here's a question I have for you. It's actually a good statement that I have learned is, what's worse? Being forced to work or being forced to not work, such as what the scenario is now in the pandemic. A lot of people lost their jobs. Businesses have been forced to go down the tubes, shut, going into bankruptcies, and so forth. So at one point, we're being forced to work to generate income to survive and pay for the bills and make comfort for our families. But now all of a sudden, we're being forced to not work. So how do we keep going? That's where the pivot comes in. So you gotta be very strong. You have to be like a bull. You got to be strong-headed, and you have to have a strategy. There's no question about it. If you don't have a strategy to be able to pivot, you're kind of stuck in the water. So here are what I recommend as the 3 ways to pivot and for you to keep moving forward. Focus on one problem at a time, not multiple problems like before. I see it over and over and over again where people, they want to get immediately multiple streams of income. But how can you focus on multiple streams of income if you can't even get one off the ground? Makes sense? Yeah, it does. You got to get that one going first and get it on autopilot to be able to make sales or even to generate interest in your product or service. And once that grabs hold, then you move on to the second possible product. But no matter how long it takes, stick with one problem to solve for your perfect customer. But when we all think about it, starting any business is very chaotic. It's a nightmare sometimes. And majority of the people, it is a nightmare because you got tons of moving parts. But the thing that I find is most common is you got so much of this stuff going on. You got so many pieces of the puzzles. You got so many tools. You don't know how to put these tools together or in what sequence. So if you don't have a strategy to know how to pivot, and that's the key, do you continue running Google ads or Facebook ads? Or do you pivot to another alternative, such as organic traffic, which is the best way to do things right now? Why would somebody pay for Facebook ads and if you don't have a budget of $1,000 a month or more, how can you get the proper data? You can't. It's pretty much impossible unless you got such a fantastic product or service. You have no effort running or any creativity involved. You just put something out there and it's going on like wildfire. Tell me it's not true, but if it's true and it happens, kudos to you. So you got to know when to pivot. Do you keep running Facebook ads, Google ads, Bing ads, Yahoo ads, Google Shop, Shopify? Even if you're doing all these things, how do you pivot and what do you pivot to is the biggest question. Okay. But I'm going to tell you right now in 2021 with this chaotic pandemic that's happening is the perfect time to start an online business. Why? Because you don't have to do the pivot. All you got to do is get the strategy right. And then you got to hammer it out. And it's not just, I'm going to do affiliate marketing. I'm going to go on ClickBank or whichever platform you're going to get your products from, and you're going to market it. It doesn't work that way. That's the simplistic way that people want you to believe that that's not real. So right now you got to look at things as what are you going to solve? What is going to cause a person that you're putting your product or service in front of? What is the mindset of that buyer? Are they in the buying mood? You got to get them in the buying mood. Otherwise, you're wasting, if you're running ads, paid ads, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. And you're not going to get valid data. Like I said, if you're not willing to spend at least $1,000 a month on advertising, your data is not going to be valid and it's going to be unclear. Number 2 of the 3 is be flexible. There's a difference between being a real hard person with an iron fist of saying it's going to be done this way and it's always been done this way. If you don't take the flexibility into account of being able to pivot, and if you're that strong-headed saying, this is the only way I can do it with a banner ad on ABC website, which I don't even think exists, abc.com. But the thing is that you got to realize is that you have to be flexible. You've heard of the 3 cores of quotes: IQ, EQ, and AQ. IQ, intelligence quotient. EQ, emotional quotient. AQ, adaptability. What is adaptability? Being flexible. So you got to adapt to a new thing to pivot, okay? But you know what the key to all this stuff is being able to be flexible is you got to have a mentor or a coach. There is a difference between a mentor and a coach. Don't get me wrong, it's not the same thing, but it's essential because if you don't know how to do this, it's going to be a long struggle. You can find out about pivoting on, say, YouTube. There's a tons of free information out there, or even using Google or Bing search or Yahoo search to find out about how to pivot. But is it current to today's market, like right now, of what's happening in the world? So I recommend having a mentor or a coach. So that is number 2. So remember, that will increase your odds being flexible, right? And I know you agree with me. Now, number 3 is being persistent. No doubt from you or the people around you. The biggest thing is that a lot of people, we're human and we're emotional. So I'm recommending is that you stop doubting yourself and you stop listening to the people around you, especially your family. You know, family's great, love them. But if they're telling you, oh, that's not possible, you're not going to get anywhere. You know, it is true about your success being, you are only a small percentage of the people that you hang out with. So say, for example, if you've got friends that are working at the same job for the last 10 years and they're working at a job and you're the only one going into entrepreneurship, and do you think they have good advice to tell you how to run a business themselves when they have never done it themselves? So surrounding your people with successful people, doesn't matter what capacity, but I think I prefer taking information from people that are already self-employed compared to somebody that's been working for somebody else and doesn't have any experience or knowledge on what I am trying to accomplish. So remember, you got to be flexible, but at the same time, you do have to be hardcore in being persistent. Here is the catch. If you promote a product, say once a week, doesn't matter if it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, platform, even LinkedIn, doesn't matter if you do it, say, once a week and you show up on the platform once a week and you do not engage in other people's posts, it doesn't have to be about a product. Stop promoting all the time. The whole idea is being there, showing up at the same time. It's like me being here every weekday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm here every day unless there is some type of family emergency. Otherwise, I'm here. Now, here is the bonus I'm talking about at the very beginning. How do you market your business on a small budget? Every small business owner wants to succeed, make more money, and have a small budget to do it. Let's face it, there's no business. Where's your marketing budget? So the first question everybody comes into mind is, how do I market my business? Well, that's the number one question all the time. You're established, you've had a drop in revenues, but it's the number one question. How do I market? The big thing is that how? Okay, now do I create a social media account? Do I have a website? Oh, by the way, did you know that there's a very, very high percentage of small businesses out there that don't even have a website? Think of that possibly being a niche that you might want to get into, is making websites for small business. If you're brand new at it, do a few free websites to get some feedback and some reviews, and then you can move on to something else. Start charging money for websites. But there's a high percent, it's over 80% of the people, if they're looking for you and let's say, for example, they see your product being advertised through organic traffic, even paid traffic, but they want to find out who you are. And if you don't have a website, how are they going to find out who you are? Just on your Facebook profile, your LinkedIn profile? No, not good enough. They want more information to find out, can they trust you about it? So another topic is, do you want to hire an agency, which is going to cost you, I'm guessing, an agency can run you about $1,000 a month. And like I said, if you have $1,000 a month to hire an agency, I'm talking about an ad agency. And if you're only spending $500 a month on ads, you're wasting your money, okay? Because you need data to find out where your ad, to find out your metrics from your ad, of how it's performing. That's why you need a really good budget for running ads online. So you do need the right strategy. You do need the right tools. And there's the thing, you've probably heard this over from God knows how many people. You need an email list, because that's where the money is made, on an email list. It's not giving away a free book or a free strategy session. You know, I hate it when somebody comments to me. I reach out to somebody because I think they'd be interested, or they're in the same group as I am. And say, for example, obviously we have a common share, and I ask them, you know, I'd like to collaborate a little bit with you to find out how we can help each other, or I'm interested in knowing what you do. And before I know it, they're hitting me with a hardcore, hey, let's get on a phone call together. And all of a sudden, before I know it, somebody's trying to sell me their services. That's not why I'm trying to connect with you. So what I recommend, if you're going to do some kind of organic marketing, start using quizzes. There is all kinds of things. Get feedback from the people that you're following, or feedback from the people that are following you. That's how you generate leads. Get people to do quizzes. I like doing quizzes myself anyway. And plus, with everything pretty much online nowadays, you need all the new tools and the newest resources. Now, I'm not talking about the old tools that have been around for quite a while. I'm not going to put a time frame on it because there's new ones emerging. Those are the new and improved from the old. Now, what would you rather have? An old product, a new improved product, when you've probably guinea pigged it before and it still couldn't do what you want it to do? Or do you want something that's brand new that you know, after you've completed all your research on that new product, it works? Myself, I like the new products. I don't like new and improved. Been there, done that. So anyway, in case you have forgotten who I am and you're wondering why should I listen to you, well, I am the author of a book. It's a paperback book called Business or Bleed. It's on Amazon on all different platforms of .com, .ca, .nz, so forth. And I'm a speaker, and I'm also a strategist. Now, I really love working with people just starting out to help market their business. Now, I'm going to do it anyway. You know, it doesn't matter. I'm going to give you right now 5 hush tips to successfully market your business. Now, this is a strategy, okay? And you've probably heard this again, probably from other people in bits and pieces here and there. You got to know your customer, and you got to get your customer in the buying mood. If you don't find that customer in the buying mood, and how you know when somebody's in a buying mood, it's pretty simple to find that out using Google. Well, not only Google Trends, but Google keyword search. You can find out people that are in the buying mood. Because when people Google in how or the best place to buy puppy food in Toronto, Canada, well, it's going to give you businesses in that local area. Hint, hint. Okay. You got to be consistent. Like I said earlier, suit up, show up. Most people will not buy your product or service the first time they see your ad or see you or hear about you. Consistency, seeing you over and over again to build trust. And again, another 5 hush is the email list. That is where the gold is. When you're running an ad, let me ask you this. Do you think you're going to make a sale and say, for example, the you pay for an ad and you made a sale on a affiliate product that costs $50. Okay. And you're going to go, woo, 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 good, I made a sale. But you know something? The whole idea of running paid ads, running the ad, selling the first product is to break even. The money's on the back end in repeat sales from that same customer. That is the key. So don't think that making your first sale, you made money. If you got paid ads going, and the whole idea of running paid ads is to break even before you start making money, because there is expenses. I don't know why people say you could start a business with no money. Well, things cost money. There's no question about it. So you got to hire the right people. If you are able to do hiring, I recommend outsourcing, and there's tons of places out there to get outsourcing information, to hire somebody, to even a VA. If you need a VA, there's some really great platforms out there to get VAs for dirt cheap, to work for like, $3-4 an hour in the Philippines or somewhere. So again, this goes to the fifth one, the hush hush little secret that I promote. You got to be visible where your ideal prospects are. Where are your customers? So first, you got to think, who is your client or customer? How do I find them in a buying mood? This is all things. These are essential tips, people. This is not just common sense that some people put out there that this is common sense stuff. It's not common sense. You have all this information. So where do you put it all and in what sequence? That's the biggest problem. My name is Robert Miller. I'm with Miller Education Founders. I'm the MillerEducationVentures.com. I am the founder and the CEO. I hate that word CEO. It makes me look like I'm a big guru, but I hate the word guru. But anyway, if you have found any of this information valuable, I recommend following and tuning in every weekday morning, same time, 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. And here's the thing, is that I have a live workshop coming up March 9th at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is a paid event. It's $47. I'm not going to hide that, where we're going to be going to very deep details about starting a business from your business model to launching. The whole idea, if you do not go through the steps properly, just like it says in my book, Business or Bleed, that's on Amazon, you got to put things in the right order. Otherwise, how can you kind of establish an entity? But one key thing to remember is, if you do not sell any product, you're not in business. I don't care what anybody says. You could incorporate your company name right now, or LLC in the US. It doesn't mean you're in business. You got to sell something to be classified as being in business. So anyway, I hope to see you tomorrow, and you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a safe day today.